something was missing. Something I couldn't name at first. A feeling, a dull ache that settled in my chest, growing heavier with each passing day. And then, one day, it hit me. I was alone. Completely, utterly alone. In my own home. In my own marriage. In my own skin. It wasn't always this way. There was a time when my husband looked at me like I was the only woman in the world. A time when his touch sent shivers down my spine, when we would talk for hours about nothing and everything. We used to laugh. We used to dream. We used to see each other. But somewhere along the way, the laughter stopped. The conversations became shorter. The glances fewer. And then one day, I realized he didn't look at me at all anymore. Not really. His eyes were always somewhere else. On his phone. On his laptop. On work. Anywhere but on me. I would try. God, I would try. I'd dress up, put on the perfume he used to love, make his favorite dinner. And he would smile, distracted, murmur a thank you, and go right back to whatever was more important than me. Nights were the worst. Lying beside him in bed, close enough to touch, but 1,000 miles apart. His back turned. The glow of his phone screen lighting up his face. And me? Staring at the ceiling, wide awake, wondering how we got here. Wondering if he even noticed. The truth? He didn't. And our kids? They had their own worlds now. Their own friends, their own secrets. When they were little, I was everything to them. They needed me, wanted me. Now? I was just there. They passed through the house like shadows, quick hellos and good nights, lost in their own lives, their own distractions. I told myself this was normal. That this is what happens when you've been married long enough, when your children grow up. That this is just life. But if that was true, then why did it hurt so much? I felt like a ghost in my own home. I moved through the rooms, cleaning, cooking, organizing, making sure everyone else had what they needed. But no one ever stopped to ask what I needed. No one even noticed. I started talking to myself more, whispering thoughts out loud because there was no one else to hear them. Laughing at my own jokes in an empty room because I couldn't remember the last time someone laughed with me. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to cross a line. Never. But when you feel invisible for long enough, you start looking for ways to feel real again. I think a part of me had already given up before we even left for the trip. It was just a weekend getaway, a beach resort, something to reconnect as a family. My husband booked it last minute, but not because he wanted to spend time with us. It was more about keeping up appearances. A change of scenery, an easy way to say he was trying. But I knew better. Even before we arrived, I could see how it was going to be. Him, tied to his laptop, answering emails by the pool, pacing the balcony on conference calls. The kids, barely looking up from their phones. And me? Just another part of the backdrop, blending into the scenery, waiting for someone to notice I was even there. I told myself not to expect anything different. That it was better this way. No more disappointment if I didn't hope for more. But then he noticed me. Eric, my husband's best friend. He'd been around for years. Always showing up for birthdays, barbecues, family gatherings. I never thought much of him before. Just another familiar face in the revolving door of my husband's life. But that weekend, something was different. Maybe it was the way he looked at me. Maybe it was the way I had been starving for attention for so long that I was willing to take it from anyone who cared enough to give it. Or maybe, just maybe, I had already been standing at the edge, waiting for the slightest push. It started small. A glance that lasted a second too long. A casual joke that made me laugh, really laugh, for the first time in forever. A moment where I felt seen. And it felt good. God, it felt good. And then there were the compliments. Subtle, effortless. The kind my husband had long stopped giving. You always had the best smile, he said, and I swear, I felt my whole body warm under the words. And it wasn't just what he said, it was how he said it. Like he meant it. Like he had been thinking it for a while. I told myself it was harmless. Just friendly conversation. Just the easy way he made people feel comfortable. But deep down, I knew better. It was later that afternoon, during the beach volleyball game, when it happened. I wasn't even supposed to be playing. I was just watching, sipping my drink, half listening to my husband on yet another phone call. But Eric pulled me in, laughing, teasing. "Come on, it's just a game," he said. And I don't know why, but for the first time in a long time, I let myself be playful. I let myself have fun. We were on opposite teams. The sun was high, the sand hot beneath my feet. I was smiling, really smiling, and for a moment, I forgot everything else. And then, in one quick movement, the ball came flying between us, and we both lunged for it. It happened so fast. His hand, his strong, warm hand, grabbing for the ball but landing somewhere else. On me. My waist, his fingers pressing into my skin, steadying me as I stumbled forward. Just for a second. Just long enough. It was just a mistake. Right? That's what I told myself. But the way my heart was racing? The way his grip lingered a fraction longer than it should have? The way his eyes met mine searching, unreadable, I knew. I knew. And in that moment, something shifted. The air between us changed. The tension, thick and unspoken, crackled like static electricity. I pulled away, smiled, laughed it off like it was nothing. But inside, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. I felt alive. It was nothing, just a slip of the hand. A moment of clumsiness. That's what I told myself. That's what I needed to believe. But my body told a different story. My heart was still racing long after the game had ended. My skin tingled where his fingers had been, and I found myself tracing the spot absent-mindedly, as if my body didn't want to forget how it felt to be touched like that. I shook it off. I had to. It wasn't a big deal. It didn't mean anything. But as the hours passed, I started noticing things I shouldn't have. The way his eyes found mine in a crowded room. The way he laughed at my jokes, genuine, full-bodied laughter, while my husband barely looked up from his phone when I spoke. The way I felt when Eric was near. I was being ridiculous. This wasn't me. I was a wife, a mother, a woman who knew better. But something had awakened inside me, something I couldn't ignore, no matter how much I wanted to. That night at dinner, I sat across from my husband, watching him scroll through his emails between bites of steak. He barely spoke, barely looked up. I could have been anyone sitting there, and he wouldn't have noticed. And then there was Eric. Seated just a few spots away, engaged in easy conversation with someone else, but every so often, too often, his gaze would flicker toward me. Quick, subtle, just enough for me to notice. Just enough for me to feel it. I was losing control of something I didn't even realize I had been holding on to. And the worst part? I didn't want to stop it. I started craving it. The attention. The way he made me feel like I wasn't invisible. Like I was still a woman, not just a role to be filled. It was intoxicating, the way he saw me when no one else did. And I hated myself for wanting it. I told myself it was harmless. Just stolen glances. Just innocent conversation. Just a small, secret thrill I kept tucked away inside me. But why did it feel so dangerous? I caught myself looking for him the next morning. At breakfast, my eyes scanned the dining area before I even realized what I was doing. And when I found him, when he smiled at me, soft, knowing, I felt that same rush all over again. I should have stopped then. I should have reminded myself who I was, what I had to lose. But instead, I smiled back. And that was the moment I knew. I wasn't just falling, I had already started sinking. I told myself I wasn't doing anything wrong. That it was just conversation, just company. That I was only enjoying the feeling of being noticed. But deep down, I knew. I knew what I was doing. Or maybe I just knew what I wanted. It happened after dinner. The others had gone inside, my husband retreating to his laptop like he always did. But I stayed back, lingering on the balcony, drawn to the quiet night air, to the way the ocean stretched endlessly in the dark. And then, without a word, Eric was there too. I should have left. I should have excused myself, gone to bed, walked away. But I didn't. I stayed. We stood there, side by side, the silence between us thick, charged. I could feel his presence, close, warm, familiar in a way it shouldn't have been. And before I knew it, I was speaking. I didn't mean to say it. Didn't mean to let it slip. But the words came out anyway, raw, exposed. I feel invisible, I whispered. And just like that, the dam broke. I told him everything. How the marriage I once cherished had become a routine, a habit, a series of motions without meaning. How my husband barely looked at me anymore. How I could be standing right in front of him, and it was like I wasn't even there. Eric didn't interrupt. He didn't offer meaningless reassurances. He just listened. Really listened. And when he finally spoke, his voice was quiet, steady. "You're not invisible," he said. Not to me. The air between us changed then. Became heavier, more dangerous. I felt it like a pull, something neither of us acknowledged but both of us understood. And then, he reached for my hand. It was nothing. Just the lightest touch, his fingers brushing against mine. But it might as well have been a spark to dry grass. My breath caught. My pulse jumped. And for a moment, a fleeting, reckless moment, I didn't move away. I should have. I should have pulled back immediately, put distance between us. But I didn't. I let the moment stretch just a little too long. I let myself feel it. And then I did pull away, finally, slowly. But not completely. Not enough. I should have walked away then. But instead, I stayed, just a little longer. I should have known something would happen that night. I should have felt it coming, the way the air had been shifting between us, thickening with something unspoken, something inevitable. But maybe I did know. Maybe I had been waiting for it. Dinner was the same as always. My husband drank too much, nothing new there. He laughed too loudly at things no one else found funny, spoke too much about work, barely looked in my direction. When the meal was over, he gave me a half-hearted kiss on the cheek, mumbled something about being exhausted, and stumbled off to bed without so much as a glance back. I could have gone too. I should have. But instead, I found myself outside, drawn to the warmth of the bonfire where Eric sat alone, staring into the flames. I didn't think twice before joining him. It felt natural, easy. Or maybe I just wanted to be near him. Maybe I had stopped caring about what was right. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The fire crackled between us, the waves crashing softly in the distance. I could feel him watching me, the weight of his gaze like a touch. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet, careful. "Are you happy?" I didn't answer right away. Because what was I supposed to say? That I didn't know what happiness felt like anymore? That I had forgotten the last time my husband looked at me like I was someone, instead of just something he had grown used to? That the only time I had felt alive in years was in the stolen moments I wasn't supposed to have with him. Instead, I just shook my head. And that was all it took. That one small, silent confession. Because Eric already knew. He had known for a long time. We sat there, the space between us shrinking by the second. I could hear my own heartbeat, fast, unsteady. I could feel my body leaning toward him before my mind even caught up. It would have been so easy. So easy to close the gap, to let everything unravel right there by the fire. But we didn't. Not yet. Instead, we stood, both of us knowing we couldn't sit there any longer, couldn't keep towing the edge of something we weren't ready to name. We walked in silence, side by side, down the dimly lit path toward our rooms. And then, it happened. Eric stopped walking. Just for a second. Just long enough for his hand to reach for a door handle. The wrong door handle. My door. A simple mistake? Or was it? We both froze. My breath caught in my throat. His hand, still on the knob. Neither of us moving. Neither of us looking away. The hallway was silent, empty. No one would know. No one would see. It would take nothing, just a single step forward, just one decision, one moment where we let go of everything except the pull between us. We didn't speak. We didn't have to. The air between us was thick with all the things we weren't saying. With the choice that neither of us wanted to make, but both of us already had. I should have walked inside alone. I should have laughed it off, shaken my head, turned away. But instead I stayed. And in that heartbeat, everything changed. Morning came too soon. The first thing I noticed was the light, soft, golden, slipping through the curtains like it belonged there. The second thing I noticed was the silence. Not the comforting kind, the heavy kind, the kind that presses down on you, forces you to face things you don't want to see. For a few seconds, I let myself forget. I let my mind hover in that half-dream state where nothing had happened, where everything was still the same. But then I moved, and reality came rushing back. My body still remembered. The heat of his skin, the way my name had sounded in his mouth, the way I had let it happen, no hesitation, no second thoughts, just raw, reckless need. I swallowed hard. My stomach twisted. I turned my head, half expecting to see him still there, half dreading that he would be. But the space beside me was empty. He was gone. For a moment, I thought maybe I had imagined it. Maybe it was just a dream. But then I saw it, the slightest indent on the pillow, the faintest trace of his scent lingering in the sheets. Proof that it had been real. And just like that, the weight of it hit me all at once. Regret. It didn't creep in slowly, it slammed into me, cold and suffocating. My chest tightened. My breath came shallow. I sat up too fast, the room tilting for a second as my hands flew to my face, covering my mouth like I could somehow swallow back the truth of what I'd done. I felt sick. Physically sick. I needed to get up. I needed to move, to do something, anything, before the guilt drowned me completely. But when I swung my legs over the edge of the bed, my eyes landed on my hand. My wedding ring. I stared at it, at the way the light hit the gold, at the way it suddenly felt too tight on my finger, like it knew, like it was trying to suffocate me. I wanted to pull it off. I wanted to throw it across the room. I wanted to go back to last night and undo everything. But I couldn't. A knock at the door snapped me out of it. My heart nearly stopped. For a second, I thought it was him. I thought I'd open the door and find him standing there, looking at me the way he had last night, waiting for me to say something, waiting for me to admit that we had just made the biggest mistake of our lives. But it wasn't him. It was my husband. I barely had time to school my expression before he stepped inside, stretching, yawning, looking so at ease, so normal that I wanted to scream. "Morning," he mumbled, his voice still thick with sleep. He leaned in, pressing a kiss to my cheek, and I flinched before I could stop myself. If he noticed, he didn't say anything. Instead, he walked past me, already talking about how he had slept like a rock, how he must have had one too many drinks, how we should go have breakfast before heading to the beach. He had no idea. No idea that while he had been passed out in our bed, his best friend had been in mine. No idea that the woman standing in front of him wasn't the same woman he had kissed goodbye before stumbling off to sleep. I wanted to tell him. I wanted to confess everything right then and there, to rip the bandage off, to let the truth burn everything to the ground. But I couldn't. So instead I nodded. I smiled. I let him take my hand. And I pretended. And then there was Eric. I spotted him at breakfast. He was already sitting at the table, coffee in hand, his face unreadable. When our eyes met, my stomach clenched. For a moment, I expected him to look guilty, to look shaken, to look as ruined as I felt. But he didn't. He looked normal. Too normal. Like nothing had happened. Like last night had been a dream, something we had imagined. He even smiled. And that smile, that small, casual, infuriatingly calm smile, made me feel even worse. Was he pretending? Or was this just easier for him? Did he regret it? Or was he waiting for me to say something? I didn't know. I didn't dare ask. All I knew was that I couldn't eat. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't sit there with my husband on one side of me and Eric on the other, with my ring burning on my finger, with the taste of last night still on my lips. I excused myself before I choked on the weight of it all. I needed air. I needed space. I needed a way to live with what I had done. Because there was no taking it back now. I barely made it back to my room before the weight of it all crushed me. The moment the door clicked shut behind me, my legs gave out. I sank onto the edge of the bed, hands gripping my face, my breath coming in short, uneven bursts. My chest felt tight, my throat burned, and my mind, God, my mind wouldn't stop. How did I let this happen? I squeezed my eyes shut, but the memories were relentless. the heat of his body, the feel of his hands on my skin. The way I had melted into him, no hesitation, no second thoughts. Like I had been waiting for it. Like I had wanted it. Had I? Was it really just a mistake, or was it something deeper? Something buried inside me for years, waiting for the right moment to surface. I wanted to say it was the loneliness, the neglect, the years of feeling like I was nothing more than a fixture in my own home. But was that really an excuse? Was it enough to justify what I had done? I had crossed a line. Not just any line. The line. The one I never thought I would, the one I swore I never could. And now there was no going back. I felt sick. Not just with guilt, but with something worse. A realization. A truth I wasn't ready to face. My marriage, my life as I knew it, would never be the same again. Even if my husband never found out, even if Eric and I never spoke of it again, even if I buried this moment deep inside myself and pretended it never happened, it would still be there. A crack in the foundation. A ghost lingering in the silence between us. Because now I knew. I knew what it felt like to step outside the lines. To want something that wasn't mine to have. To take it. And knowing that, how could I ever look at my husband the same way again? I stared at my reflection in the mirror across the room, barely recognizing the woman staring back at me. Her eyes were wide, haunted. Her lips, still swollen from last night's sin. Her skin, still marked by hands that weren't her husband's. I wanted to undo it. I wanted to turn back time, erase the last 12 hours, wake up in my own bed with clean hands and an untainted conscience. But time doesn't work like that. Once something is done, it stays done. It lives inside you, whether you acknowledge it or not. So what now? What was I supposed to do? Confess? Tell my husband the truth? Watch his face fall? Watch the life we built shatter at my feet? Did I have it in me to rip everything apart, to break his heart, to break my own? Or did I stay silent? Did I bury it, lock it away, pretend it was nothing but a fleeting mistake? Did I smile at my husband tonight like nothing had changed? Did I lay beside him, touch him with the same hands that had